back from their maximum extent. And that's why we get to see some of these fantastic types of environments. And we see the temperate glaciers, the big waterfalls that form in those places. But where we've had complete deglaciation, and to be fair here, the deglaciation is what gives us the Straits of Magellan and the Beagle Channel. We get these environments of fjords, submerged valley systems. And when it's carved into metamorphic rocks, they keep their shape. We get our U-shaped valleys and hanging waterfalls. So that tells us that that's what our environment used to look like. And so where we've had complete deglaciation and our fjords, this is what we get. Right? There's plenty of places around the world that look like this. Scandinavia, Patagonia. What other place? Can't remember. New Zealand. So, the other part to that, I guess, to think about it, I'll be talking about the glaciers because I'm building up to how Antarctica works as well. But for the environment in around Patagonia, it's not just about the big valley systems. There are also the eastern landscapes where they're sort of undulating and hummocky, where we've had old moraine forms, lots of peat formation, and lots of bogs. And they say that's also part of that broader environment and how it's formed. This is the flight out from Ushuaia. Set up the most annoying passenger on planes. So covered your window. And just to sort of wrap up a little bit here, I guess the key thing is that when we're thinking about how a place looks and how perhaps we feel about a place, we're observing processes that have happened over a long time. And they are dynamic landscapes. And so we can see clues of the past. And mountain building happens extraordinarily slowly, 20, 30 million years. And how quickly they're taken away from that environment will depend on how high those mountains are, how cool that environment is. So if we change the atmosphere, we change the rate of process. And just to give an example here, this is a collection of observations of climate stations across sort of the northern part of the Andes. And so what they've done is they've aggregated those temperatures, they've created a median line. And that's the median temperature between sort of the 20th century, 1961 to 1990. So that's that dashed line. And then what they've done is they've plotted the mean temperature as a deviation away from that. This is what all climatologists do. So it's not an actual temperature, it's what we call an anomaly, a variation away from it. And so if you look at that relative to that mean, we see in the northern Andes it was a little bit cooler than the mean through to about the 1970s, and perhaps a bit warmer than the mean from the 1970s onwards. And so that has a big impact in driving those rates of retreat and how much is being lost across all of the Andes, how high those snow lines are. And that has some impact and implication for the traditional peoples who live in the Andes, who have relied on that water supply to sustain their communities. As your glaciers get less, as your snow retreats, you have less water. Right? And they all come out in one big lump, which is no good to you. And so that has some challenges. In terms of Patagonia, as I said, we're looking at a relatively important contributor to sea level change. And that rate of contribution is accelerating. So much so that for the period between sort of 1961 through about 2016, we're looking at about 3.3 millimetres of sea level rise alone comes from those Patagonian ice fields. Now I know 3 millimetres sounds like nothing, but it is an important element of a bigger puzzle that we're trying to resolve. So they're rapidly thinning, they're losing a lot of ice, and that landscape is changing because of it. So there's some things I'll talk about throughout the lecture program during the cruise. What I'd like to say is that if you have questions, we're not going to operate questions in here because, one, I can't see you, and it might be a bit tricky. Two, there's something more fascinating and interesting coming on after me. So what we'll do is if you've got any questions, you want to have a chat, I'm going to head to Gatsby's, and I'll probably be there for about an hour or so. And come along, we can ask some questions, and we can go from there. Right, thank you very much. I hope you all took good notes.